Welcome back. It's time for Media Watch France on France 24, a roundup of the top stories in the French press and social media. Olivia Salazar-Winspear joins me on set. Good evening.
Hello.
And first, we've got yet another story about Nadine Mourad, a politician here, a former UMP Conservative minister. She's become known for her gaffes over the past year or so.
She has, yeah. Nadine Mourad might have lost her place in the National Assembly, but she certainly hasn't lost her place in the headlines, where she is pretty much every week. Now, the latest thing is, I don't know if you remember recently, she refuted claims of racism when she said, I can't be a racist because one of my best friends is darker than an Arab.
Which is a very strange way to put it, to say the least.
Understandably, it prompted ridicule from just about every media source going. And many people even thought that this so-called dark friend was fictional. However, she's not fictional. Her name's Solange, and the press have, of course, tracked her down.
And she doesn't mind being tracked down.
She was interviewed.
She was the
token dark-skinned, darker than an Arab friend
of Nadine Mourad. That's outrageous.
Marianne interviewed this lady called Solange. She lives in Paris with her family, and she says that she actually considers Nadine Mourad like a sister. As children, they used to play together. They spent a lot of time growing up in the same town. And she says that Nadine Mourad is not actually a racist. She just has trouble articulating her opinions correctly.
Obvious.
And at the end of the article, what's quite interesting is they ask this woman, Solange, about her own politics. And she says that she's actually more to the left than Nadine Mourad, but that doesn't stop them having long political discussions, covering all sorts of social issues. Although, as a very good friend, Solange has advised Nadine Mourad to quit politics and take a very long holiday.
Next up, we're staying with French politicians. François Hollande, the president's partner, Valerie Trierweiler, has been on the front page of magazines for weeks now, which proves there's a healthy appetite for news from the First Lady, but she's not the only one.
Yes, it looks like France's first girlfriend, as she's often called, has got a bit of competition. Now, she's been on the front of many women's magazines, specifically here in France. Now the French newspapers are turning their attention to other ladies of note, particularly Interior Minister Manuel Valls' wife, Anne Gravoin. Le Parisien have her in their article here. There she is pictured with Johnny Hallyday and the French rock star, of course, much more famous in France than anywhere else, and Manuel Valls, her husband. Now, she's with Johnny Hallyday because she's a musician who's currently playing with him on tour. She plays the violin. And this profile of her and the accompanying interview suggests that she could be the new media focus in terms of politicians' partners, because she has this glamorous life where she consorts with musicians and performers. She's also not shy of, speaking her mind. There's a quote in this interview where she says, sure, it's more glamorous being a musician than being Mrs. Ayrault, a German teacher in the suburb of Nantes.
And that is the wife of the Prime Minister, of course, so she doesn't mind making enemies, it seems.
That's not a very thinly disguised dig at people who have perhaps less glamorous careers than her. Of all this celebrity news, Rue 89, the web paper, has an article on it saying, help, the celebrities are back. And what they're talking about is the fact that we're seeing a lot of politicians' partners, women specifically, on the front of papers and magazines. There you've got Cecilia Sarkozy.
Yes, former First Lady, and she resurfaced in the press this week.
Given a big interview. You've got Audrey Pulvar, the partner of Arnaud Montebourg, Trierweiler again. And basically what they're saying is that the left seem to be just as interested in the celebrity side of politics as the right, which is not what you'd expect. And that's been echoed.
The public is the same, isn't it?
Well,
I suppose
the public seems to be, from what I've seen on Twitter, they were quite critical. One person has tweeted, the modesty of Ayrault's government didn't last long, did it? And somebody else saying, this is ridiculous, this is just more Sarkozy, and we don't want any more of it.
So bling, celebrity lifestyles, etc. That's not going over too well.
No.
Finally, you've got a bit of sad news for vintage technology enthusiasts. It's officially the end of Minitel. I didn't even know Minitel was still around.
It's still, they were still going strong. It's still very much on. Now, use your Minitel while you can. France Telecom are pulling the plug tonight on Minitel.
So
just to
tell
explain,
our viewers who probably don't know what that is, what Minitel
little
is
plastic box that looks like a hybrid between a computer and a phone and a fax machine. It's finally being laid to rest, though. It's the little French box that you could use through your own telephone line in the home to check the weather, to look at your bank account, to read exam results online.
So it's really when the French invented the internet. Is how the French
I knew you were going to say this. This is what
it.
French people love to say. We invented the internet. Well, it was more of an electronic
This
yellow...
is what it looks like.
That's what it looked like. It was more of an electronic yellow pages where you could, access things very easily through your phone line. And ironically, like you say, some people say it was a blueprint for the internet, but it's the internet that's made it obsolete, now that we don't need that in the new digital world. And there was also, I found a funny story about this in Le Monde today. There was also Minitel Rose, which is more of an adult Minitel. I'm sure you're too young to have used that, Lana. Where people could send each other racy messages through the little keypad, and apparently they took ages to arrive and come back.
That was a big part of the success of
it was
Minitel.
a chat room. It was essentially the ancestor of the chat room. And this article here in Le Monde, there's a musician called Jérôme Knox. He said that one of his little kind of Saturday jobs was posing as a woman called Julie and trying to get men to chat with him and stay on the phone. So they'd run up these huge phone bills.
It's a dark secret from his past.
Yeah, until one day he just revealed it all and said, I'm not called Julie, I'm called Jérôme, and
I'm a man.
been having you on and you've spent so much money. So, and that still goes on the internet. So, le Minitel est mort, vive le Minitel.
All right, well, bye-bye Minitel. It looks, clunky, a bit outdated, but I guess we'll find it around flea markets and
Definitely.
on eBay for those enthusiasts. Olivia Salazar-Winspear, thanks very much for being with us. And thank you for watching. That was Media Watch on France 24. Next up is web news, and we round up the top internet content of this week, including reactions to some very high-profile defections within the Syrian army.